Hello, everybody. Anyway, I thought we would tell the story, a magic story about a magic fishing rod and a very magic fish. And this happened many, many years ago in Ireland, back many hundreds of years ago. And many, many hundreds of years ago, the great man who led Nafin and Aaron, who was a brave warrior. He had a huge, big wolfhound dog when he grew up, and he could fight armies on his own, and he was very famous. And his name was Fionn McCool. So Fionn McCool was just a little boy, and his mammy and his daddy were minding him, and he had no school to go to, because they didn't have school in those days. So his mammy and his daddy knew this old man who lived down near the sea, who was a great friend of his granddad's. And they said, Fionn McCool, you should go down and live with this man. And the man's name is Finnegas. It's an unusual name. He had long white hair and a big long white beard. And he was very, very smart and very clever. And he could read and he could write and he could say poetry and he could play music. And he was a lovely, lovely man. So Fionn McCool went down to see what he could learn of this man Finnegas. And when he got down to see him, Finnegas was there. And he said, come on in, Fionn McCool. What do you want to know? And Fionn McCool said, I want to know everything about the world, about life, and I want to be the most clever, knowledgeable man like you, know how to do almost everything. Well, that's okay, said Finnegas. So what you have to do is you have to help me, and you have to help me around the house and around the little farm and help me feed the animals and do all this. So at night when they used to sit there, Fionn was always very curious about everything. He would ask him loads of questions. And Finnegas knew almost all the answers. And then eventually, Fionn asked him so many questions that he couldn't answer them anymore. And he said, I don't know absolutely everything. I know most things, but I don't know everything. And then Fionn McCool said, but is there any way anybody could know everything? He said, well, there is a very special thing you can do. And I have been trying to do it for a long time. So every summer I go down to this river that flows into the sea near Castletown Beach. And that river has fish. And the salmon swim back up that river every year. But there is one salmon, and only one salmon in the whole sea. And he's called the Salmon of Knowledge. And nobody has ever caught him. But there have been stories that there are certain parts of the river and the sea where at certain times of the year you might have a chance of catching this salmon. So Finnegas said to Fionn McCool, we will go down in 2 nights' time with this special fishing rod that we have. And we will try and catch this fish. And if we catch the fish, what we have to do is cook the fish. And when I cook that fish and I eat that fish, I will know everything, because that fish is called the Salmon of Knowledge. It knows everything. So Fionn was very impressed with this. So they packed up their fishing rod, they packed up all their bait, they made their lunch, they put their fishing rod on their back, and they walked down across the sands and down to this particular part of the river. And they could hear the sea. See, the waves were coming in. You could hear them. Can you hear them? So, they started fishing in the sea. They started fishing. They were fishing for a long time. And then, next thing, the rod went. And Finnegas pulled up the rod. And on the end of the rod, there it was. Fantastic, big, huge salmon with a pink belly, which meant it was the salmon of knowledge. So he called Fionn, he said, Fionn, quick, I've caught the salmon of knowledge. I will know every single thing that needs to be known about everything now. So Fionn came running down. Anyway, he said to Fionn, start a little barbecue fire. I have to cook this fish. I want you to cook the fish in the plate on the barbecue. But don't eat it. Don't go near it, because I have to eat it. Because I have to get all the knowledge. So Fionn said okay. So he was so excited. So he went off and he made the fire, and he had a little barbecue fire going, and he got the little pan, and he got the salmon, and he put the salmon in the pan. But guess what happened next? Well, while he was cooking the fish in the pan, you know the way the pan, your mommy and daddy tells you never to go near the pan because it's always very hot and you could get burned. But what happened was, the fish was jumping around the pan. Well, not jumping around the pan, but the grease was jumping around the pan. And the fish was cooking. Next thing, Fionn was trying to move it, and a piece of the grease off the fish hit Fionn's thumb. Sorry, his thumb. Got his thumb. And he went, oh! So what did he do? Put his thumb in his mouth. That's okay. So he cooked the fish, and he called for Finnegas to come up. Finnegas, the fish is cooked, come on up. But when Finnegas came up, he looked at Fionn and he said, you look different. Fionn said, I don't feel any different. I hope you didn't eat any of that fish. No, I didn't eat any of it. Are you sure? No. What happened? Nothing. Well, actually, the only thing that happened was I was cooking the fish, and a whole spark of grease, piece of grease, hopped up and caught my finger, kind of burnt my finger, and I put my finger in my mouth. Finnegas says, no. Oh no. That means I don't know everything about the whole world now, everything. You know everything now because you tasted the fish first. That's the whole thing. Whoever tastes it first gets to know all the knowledge. But he wasn't upset or annoyed with Fionn. Okay, he said, you might as well eat the fish first now. Go ahead. So Fionn ate a good bit of the fish. And after a while then, he suddenly said, I don't feel any different about anything. And he said, I don't feel any wiser. I don't think I know anymore. And then Finnegas said to him, but it was your thumb that got burnt. So, put your thumb in your mouth when you want to know something. And the salmon of knowledge will tell you everything in your head. So he said, You want to know how many million stars there are in the universe? Put your thumb in your mouth. Oh! He got the answer straight away. 28 million or whatever. You want to know anything? So Finnegan said to him, you may go back to your mammy and daddy now. I can't teach you anymore. You are going to be a very famous man. You're going to be the leader of the people, because they will all come to you when they need a problem solved, because you know everything, because you have the salmon of knowledge. You tasted it first. Put your thumb in your mouth and you can fix any problem. And so it was that Fionn McCool, who you'll all learn about when you're in school when you get older, was a very famous Irish warrior and a singer and a musician and a poet and a hunter. And he became one of the greatest leaders the country ever had when he led the greatest band of warriors that Ireland ever knew, who were called Na Fianna. And that is the story of the fishing rod and the magic salmon of knowledge. See you all soon.